Hey everyone, it's Bob Perkins with aa-isp's Monday Morning Sales Minute, bringing you a 3-week series on a great topic called sales engagement, which leads to improved conversion rates and revenue. With us today, I have Darryl Praill, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at VanillaSoft. Darryl, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Bob. Good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you. Last time we connected, we were down in Houston a couple weeks ago. So it's good to see you again. And, this topic is really interesting, and I think our viewers are going to gain some tips from you. But before you get started, I'll just mention that VanillaSoft was the very first key sponsor we had 10 years ago with the aa-isp, and you've been around every year since. So we really appreciate your support and your interest in the inside sales community. So thank you.
Not a problem. Glad to support.
All right. Well, let's get started. You're going to go 3 Mondays in a row. What are you talking about today?
All right. So, the 3 topics we're going to cover in the next 3 Mondays, I'll give it away right now, as it relates to sales engagement. We kind of call them the 3 pillars, if you will. We'll talk about speed to lead, talk about persistency, we talk about cadence. So those are the 3. What do you want to talk about today? I'm thinking speed to lead, to start with that, because that's been getting the most conversation online recently, shall we say, amongst many of the stakeholders. So, right. and that actually, it all started way back at that Houston event where you and I were at.
Yeah, I saw some controversy. We saw research that said, hey, you got to get to it in 5 minutes. And then someone got up and talked about, well, maybe not so much. And you've done, you've recorded millions of sales engagements, and you've done your own research, which is shared at the Leadership Summit. So are you going to bring in some of that today? Yeah,
let's do it. You want to hop into that? Want me to set the stage a little bit?
Go for it.
All right, so just for context. So recently, VanillaSoft shared a whole bunch of data with University of Ottawa, their Telfer School of Management. So we gave them the data so they could do their own research. And the study was interesting. It covered several years, 130 million sales interactions. That broke down to about 45 million contacts, 4 million web leads, and it spanned over 500 companies. And when they crunched the numbers, they came up with some interesting observations. The one we're talking about today is speed to lead. So let's kind of set the stage here, and I'll allude a little bit of the conflict that has arisen as per Bob's point. So let's call it the stereotypical. The stereotypical belief is that you need to respond to a new lead within 5 minutes. Bob, have you heard that before?
A lot, too much maybe, but
over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And that goes back to a study that Inside Sales did over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, when they did the study, they did that on 15,000 leads and 100,000 call attempts. So for context, that was 15,000 leads, where this is 45 million leads. Just so that's a difference of around 265 times greater.
Right.
Now, their point was if you called within 5 minutes of getting a brand new lead, you had a 100 times more likely chance of successfully connecting, upwards of that. And everybody has been trying to hit that. Our data showed something completely different. And I'm going to qualify it in a second because I know everybody gets really emotional about this, but let me share the data and then we can get into what it really means. So what the data said was this, and I'm looking at a chart here in front of me, and it said, if you call to say right away, you're looking at and we broke it out lots of ways. For this discussion, we broke it out into a win outcome and a loss outcome.
Yep.
So a win outcome simply means you connected with them and it was a positive conversation and there's a next step of some sort. Mm-hmm. A loss outcome says they told you to hit the road.
Yep.
So when we studied the data, if you called right away, you had a 5.8% chance or probability of a win outcome. You did it within less than 5 minutes, it got up to 7.1%. But here's the thing, it's crazy. If you waited upwards of 30 minutes, it peaked at 30 minutes, your chances rose to 14.3% of a win outcome. Said another way, it was almost triple your success if you waited up to 30 minutes.
Wow.
So as opposed to the 5 minutes. So where it gets interesting, we're telling people, guys, you want to respond fast, but not too fast. But all the advocates of 5 minutes, inside sales, if you know Gabe Larson, he's a big advocate of it. He's telling me I'm whacked, and we've had this great back and forth. So let's qualify what this means. If someone's submitting a form and they say, call me now, don't wait 30 minutes. Call them now.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just get that out of the way. But if you call right away, the data is saying you're actually doing yourself a disservice. And let me give you context in this. If you wait more than a day, it drops down to 5.4%. So if you call right away, or if you wait a day or longer, you have the exact same likelihood of connecting with them.
Wow.
It's huge, right? So when we were at your show, Bob, in Chicago, the aa-isp Sales Summit show in Chicago, we asked the audience, why do you suppose this is? Because we have our theories, but we didn't want to lead the conversation. And it was crazy. Everybody said right away, it's like creepy. It's like you're stalking me. I just submitted the form. I've barely, if at all, looked at the content I might have downloaded for a white paper or an ebook or what have you, and you're already calling me. Give me a chance to breathe here a little bit. Chances are I'm just going to ignore the call because I know exactly who you are and what you're doing. So that's what the data shows. Said another way, if you're not calling within a day, you're making yourself a huge mistake. When we talked to our same audience, most of them said we're 2 to 3 days before we call them.
Yeah.
We're anywhere between 40 and 60 hours business, actual delay time. That's affecting you. So the lesson learned, whether you want to believe inside sales or you want to believe our data, is you need to call within the hour. And now here's the irony. Inside sales data says the same thing. Back their 10-year-old study, got to call within the hour. We agree on that.
Yeah.
So that's the gist, is that if you want to connect, you want to get the most productivity and the most success of your reps, you need to do it fast. The big difference is we now have a ton more data from this study, and it shows you that, guess what? You don't have to call in 5 minutes if you're freaking out because you can't do that.
Yeah.
But if you call within the hour, you're great. If you call within 30 minutes, that's the optimal time according to the numbers.
So Darryl, so I'm sitting here thinking 30 minutes still is pretty fast. I mean, if you got a rep that has a territory, New York, and they're out to lunch, right? Or they're in a meeting, it could be more than an hour. It could in fact, absolutely. I don't know if you measured the average. I know InsideSales.com did, and I think the average was up, a day or more for most.
Well, Inside Sales, if I recall, don't quote me on this one, they said the high 30s were called like 38 hours, I want to say.
Yeah.
Our data said 61 hours was the average.
So it's way too long. Way too long. So the moral of this little tip, everyone that's watching this, is figure out a way to get to that lead at the latest an hour, right?
Yes. You got it. An hour is it. And if you can't do it within an hour, then there's going to be a number of reasons that are affecting you. Could be your processes, could be your systems, but you got to tackle those core issues because if I say to you, by fixing this one issue, you can be, upwards of 3 times more successful in your pursuit of the deal. Is that of interest to you?
Goodness. I mean, there's no other lever that easy to push. Now, I got to ask you the question here. VanillaSoft, your tool, can you configure it so it puts the lead right in front of me the minute it happens, and I can say, hey, I'm going to call this in 15, 20 minutes?
Well, in fact, that's the way it works. So we use so we're in a category called sales engagement, right? And for those who aren't really familiar with it, and yes, we would compete with Inside Sales. We'd also compete with vendors like SalesLoft. So that's kind of the landscape. If you've heard of them, that's where we play. The sales engagement is an interesting beast, right? So I'll give you a little history lesson and then I'll answer your question. Once upon a time, there was CRM, and the people tried to do everything in CRM. And they realized one of the things that really was weak in CRM was the whole idea of email and nurturing and whatnot. Yeah. So hence emerged marketing automation. Now you had the marketing automation, you had the CRM. But then what they realized was that I couldn't respond quickly to the leads in CRM because I have this massive list of leads when I get back to my desk and I look at the interface, and that one that just was new isn't popping to the fore and say, this is, call me. Right. There's no ability to prioritize. So out of that came the sales engagement area. So now you have marketing automation, which will create for you your MQL, your marketing qualified lead, which should feed into your inside sales organization, which typically will be running sales engagement. And then that would feed, once it's qualified, into your CRM. So that's the background. That's where we come from. One of the ways we do that, Bob, is we get rid of the list altogether, and we have what's called a queue. So in other words, when your inside sales rep, your SDR, logs in, the system sorts the order of the leads you see, and you only see the next best lead. So if it was based on, if your priority is, give it to me as soon as it comes in, or within 30 minutes, or based on a geography or a territory or time or a title or whatever.
Yep.
All you see is one. This is who you're calling now. And once you make that call and you make that email and you do that outreach and you result it, I left the message, whatever. Yep. Boom, it's gone and the next one comes up. So that's what our system does to get rid of that. And what's really cool about that is if you were to say, there was no answer, I left a voicemail, call back in an hour. An hour later, it appears on your screen. So you're not getting distracted when the CRM doesn't do that. And often the reason people can't do speed delete is because they're not using a sales engagement system. They're using a CRM system.
Yeah, very good. That's a good explanation. So look, everyone, Darryl's going to be back next Monday and the Monday after that. Again, next week, you're talking about persistence, I think?
That's right.
All right. Persistence is key. What are we going to learn? See you next week. Thanks, Darryl.
Take care.
Everyone, good selling.